During the 17th century, on the orders of Philip, 4th Earl of Pembroke, Inigo Jones, the famous architect, designed a suite of staterooms, which included a room known as the single cube room. It's so called because it's a perfect cube, measuring 30 feet long by 30 feet wide by 30 feet high. 30 feet is just over 9 metres. Next to it is the double cube room, so called because it combines two perfect cubes, making an overall length of 60 feet, whilst keeping the width and height at 30 feet. I am now standing in the impressive double cube room that was designed to take a collection of paintings by Sir Anthony van Dyck, a famous Flemish artist. These paintings were previously displayed in the Earl's London home. Anthony van Dyck was born in 1599. Even as a child, he showed exceptional promise as an artist, choosing subjects from religious or mythological backgrounds. But it was as a portrait painter that he became famous. You probably find it difficult to draw faces, and then especially to make them look like real people. But he was so good at it that in his early 30s he was appointed court painter to Charles I, King of England. He later knighted him, and he became known as Sir Anthony van Dyck. The English Civil War took place during the reign of Charles I, and Van Dyck, through his portraits of the royal family and courtiers, gives us an insight into the dress and fashions of that period. Here, in this room, are portraits by Van Dyck of Charles I, his queen, Henrietta Maria, and, over the fireplace, their three eldest children: Charles, Prince of Wales, James, Duke of York, and Princess Mary. In England, in the 17th century, all important people were anxious to have their portrait painted. So Van Dyck found himself very much in demand from the royal family and the powerful figures in and around the court. After the king, the Earl of Pembroke was Van Dyck's principal patron, and he commissioned this family portrait in 1634 or 5. Made up of 3 canvases stitched together horizontally, the painting measures over 5 metres across and over 3¼ metres high, or 17 feet by 11. It's the largest ever painted by Van Dyck, making it his most ambitious work. Whenever I look at portraits, I want to know more about the people in them. But before we look in detail, let's ask ourselves, why are the family arranged in the manner they are? Is anyone in this picture more important than anyone else? Is it an occasion for special clothes? What does the background tell us? Did they all pose together, or perhaps one or two at a time? I expect you find it difficult to keep still when you're having your photograph taken, and that only takes a split second. So just imagine having to keep still while you're having your portrait painted. So, playing the detective, you should take a clue from Lord Pembroke and his wife being seated at the head of the staircase. Above them is a huge shield bearing the Earl's coat of arms. Now look at his right hand. He points to a young girl dressed in white satin with black bows, and she commands the very centre of the stage. So this young lady must be important, and she is, being Lady Mary Villiers, the eldest child of the Duke of Buckingham. Her father had been assassinated, so Lady Mary was brought up in the court of King Charles. And when only 13, she became engaged to and then married to the Earl of Pembroke's eldest son, Charles, Lord Herbert. And it's this that the painting celebrates. Charles is shown sumptuously dressed in a rich red satin court dress with white slashed sleeves, lace collar, red stockings and shoes with large bows. So, together, Charles and Mary represent the future, hoping their family would continue the family line. Sadly, it wasn't to be. Within a few months, the bridegroom, who was only 16, died of smallpox in Florence, where he'd gone to join the army of the Grand Duke of Tuscany. So, with the first son no more, the Earl's second son, Philip, was to succeed as 5th Earl. The artist shows Philip's long red hair, and that he's wearing a yellow satin court dress trimmed with lace, yellow stockings and boots. Moving to the right of the painting, we see the Earl's only daughter, Sophia, and her husband, their faces shown clearly against the background of an olive green curtain. Sophia is wearing a blue dress with a pearl necklace and earrings, and she even has pearls in her hair. She's holding hands with her husband, Robert Dormer, who was 2nd Baron Dormer and the 1st Earl of Carnarvon. He's wearing a brown satin cavalier suit with high boots. You can see his sword at his side. In fact, he was to lose his life fighting for the king in the Civil War. On the far left of the painting are the Earl's 3 younger sons, James, William and John. Wearing brown and black suits, the 3 are grouped with dogs, and one is holding a book. If we follow his gaze upwards, we see angels floating in on clouds in the top left-hand corner, scattering rose petals. This is a sad detail because it's believed that in order to show the whole family, the 3 angels represent 3 more children who died as infants. Returning to the seated figure of the 4th Earl, his wealth and influence was on account of him being Lord Chamberlain of the royal household, with authority over courtiers, ceremonies, procedures and entertainments. He's wearing a black court dress with his wand of office in his left hand and displaying the ceremonial key of his office. He was also a Knight of the Garter, an order of knighthood founded by King Edward III in 1348. Considered to be the highest British civil and military honour obtainable, appointment to the order is now solely at the discretion of the British monarch. The insignia of the order is clearly shown in this painting. We see the Garter star embroidered on the Earl's left sleeve. The collar and a large gold jewel representing St George hang from his shoulders, and the Garter itself is below his left knee. In total, this picture looks like a snapshot of actors on a stage, including the scenery behind them. We know they're not actors. It's 10 life-size family members posed at various levels on a flight of marble steps. The details of their rich and colourful clothes convey the wealth of this aristocratic family. The Earl is shown soberly dressed, with his hopes for the future conveyed by the positioning and brighter costumes of his eldest children. Combined with the variety of poses and positions, it makes for an attractive and balanced composition.